Hi, I'm Charles Gauthier, President and CEO of the Downtown Vancouver Business Improvement Association. The DVBA is so proud to support this daily podcast series that is helping our community navigate through these trying times. As we all settle into what we hope is a temporary new normal, please consider helping support our local businesses. Whether it's by getting takeout from your favorite restaurant or giving a local shop a great review, it all adds up. Thanks, everyone, and stay safe.
I'm Tyler Orton. Before we jump into today's Coping with COVID interview, here are some of the top stories we're following. For the first time ever, Canada has agreed to cut oil production in concert with OPEC. Other G20 countries, such as the United States and Brazil, are also joining in on the effort to stabilize oil prices following a price war between Russia and Saudi Arabia. And Air Canada is pausing almost all of its international flights until June. The move affects more than 160 routes. That's it for now. Let's continue on with our Coping with COVID interview.
Hey there, welcome to Coping with COVID-19. It is BIV's daily briefing and interview covering the pandemic, what it means for business and what it means for society. Today, we're going to be diving into how funding and capital aimed at businesses across the province taken a bit of a curveball right now in recent weeks amid the pandemic. And joining us today is Nadia Tatlow. She is CEO of Victoria-based tech company Shift. Nadia, thanks for joining us on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
So I understand you guys had certain plans coming up with regards to locking down a funding round, but tell me a little bit about what you guys decided to do and where you might be going moving forward.
Yeah, that's right. So we Shift is a company based out of Victoria, BC, as you mentioned. We just closed a seed round at the end of last year. And we decided there's been a ton of momentum and the company's been growing really, really quickly over the last 2.5 years. So we decided to pursue our Series A quite short order after the seed round. Lots of great feedback on that and lots of momentum. So we were really kind of mid-raise or mid-raise process when all this COVID stuff hit. So we've actually decided to postpone our raise completely at this point. And we're fortunate to be in a position to be able to do so. So yeah, we've decided to there's just a lot going on and a lot of uncertainty right now. So we've decided to postpone.
Well, what was that conversation like for you and your team? Because obviously you guys had to figure out that there's a certain bit of business paralysis going on. And also that uncertainty that you spoke of. What were the conversations going on between your team and then maybe some of the other venture capitalists that were in talks as well?
Yeah, so we were kind of mid-process, I would say, and so because we were at the stage that we were, we've built a lot of I think really we're at the relationship building phase of the raising process, and so. Because it was not, obviously you want to do it as efficiently as possible and sort of, run that efficient process that everyone talks about. We realized with the amount of uncertainty and sort of the moving targets for investors in terms of valuations and price and everything on the company itself, we just decided, this is going to stretch out the timeline that we had originally targeted, and I think really just end up wasting a lot of valuable cycles of our time. And I think it makes sense on both sides to put a pause on it, just to make sure we preserve that time and focus it where it makes more sense right now.
Yeah, and if we talk about Shift as well, like you guys are focused on, say, office productivity, for instance, and if there's a lot of uncertainty about people in the workplace, how does that, I guess, recontextualize what you guys are doing, what you guys are specializing in?
Yeah, you know what? We are in a really, again, fortunate position with what we actually sell, being a tool that helps people work from home more efficiently. So, I'd say number one, the process of getting our team working from home was fairly seamless. But then also looking at, cash flows into the company, people are looking for work from home tools at a much higher rate now than they were pre-COVID. So it's sort of, I think, just speeding up, the demand for remote work and sort of all the pieces that have to go into place to make that happen and make that practical for any company. So yeah, I'd say, we're in a really good position that way, and we're just really trying to help, I think, be helpful to our community, and actually help sort of synthesize all the noise that's out there around work from home and all the sort of sales pitches that are going on. Like, how can we actually mitigate that and help people make sense of it all?
Do you suspect at all, though, as more people get used to working from home, people that had never done it before, though, and also businesses, they see that they can still have very productive workers doing so, that maybe there's an opportunity for this to stick around post-pandemic, it's going to catch on, and there might be more opportunities that you guys can seize on, not as if you're taking advantage of the pandemic, but there's just naturally going to be the emergence of opportunities that did not exist before for a company like yours.
Yeah, I've seen some interesting stuff on, Twitter, as usual, conversational stuff around, how our company's going to just, let their leases go on their office space, and our company's just going to see the potential for people to actually be more productive at home, and start sort of rethinking their expenses that way, and where it makes sense to invest and not invest in sort of physical office space. Our company, we've always worked out of the office, so it's all of us are based out of Victoria and all working out of the office, almost 100% of the time. So there was a little bit of a shift for us to get back, go to our home workstations and get everything set up. I know, in my first week at home, I was sort of, I thought it was actually quite ironic just thinking about how I was feeling a little bit, out of sorts in the first week, and it's taken some time to sort of reorganize my workstation, and and I think everyone's going to go through that process, and some people are going to like it and some people aren't. I know I've sort of adapted to this, and I'm I think I'm enjoying it at this point. Like I have my routine, and I know how to run my workday from home, and sort of separate work life and home life as best as I can right now. But I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting to see what the outcome of all this and the changes to our work habits are.
Yeah, your reaction when you're talking about that first week, it seems to mirror mine as well, where I felt a little out of sorts. I had to get used to everything. And now that I'm doing it, I'm like, okay, I can understand how this is going. But don't you get the sense that a lot of people are kind of in the same boat?
Yeah, I think we've all had sort of some, trial and error days. I know I've had some days that have been much better than others. And now I think after, it's been over a month now, now it's feeling like, okay, I've seen what works and I've seen what doesn't. So I'm trying to piece together all the facts from my own routine and make it work. But I think I think we all just have to go through that process ourselves and figure it out.
Yeah. If we think also about maybe kind of the broader implications of, say, funding moving forward, if there's less, capital going out there, what do you think that could mean for, I guess, growth within sectors such as your own, though? Do you think that we are going to be going on a bit of a hiatus for some companies, or do you think that there's going to be a sudden surge once more certainty emerges at a certain point?
Yeah, I think obviously all companies are affected in some way by this crisis, whether it's directly by COVID or by the kind of macroeconomic things that are going on right now. I don't think anyone is going to avoid some sort of impact. You look at companies like Zoom that have, really benefited through this, and anything that's sort of in the productivity space is pretty fortunate right now, because there's just more eyeballs on what we're all doing. In terms of funding, we were in a really exceptional market for fundraising, from an entrepreneurial perspective. Leading up to this crisis. So, I think things just need to reshuffle. We need to kind of understand the value and the dynamic between entrepreneurs and venture capital again, and sort of recalibrate everything. And I still feel like the recalibration is still happening right now. So no one quite understands what that dynamic is right now. Whereas, leading up to this, it was very clearly, valuations were kind of at an all-time high. There was a lot of capital in the market. So I think we'll recalibrate over the next few months and see what happens outside of all of our control, really. And then hopefully companies can really, just take this time, to conserve cash and be thoughtful about what their runway is and how they want to resurface from this. I know for us, we see an opportunity, but we're cautiously optimistic at all times, I would say.
Yeah, I think one of the things right now that businesses are wondering about is, say, the deployment of government programs that could help out here. And if you think about kind of how much runway, as you said, some of them don't have as much time. Do you think that is giving some businesses a little bit of that uncertainty right now, if they don't know how much capital they're going to have access to before government programs, talk about, say, the wage subsidy program or else the $40,000 loan program? I wonder if they're getting a little anxious right now at this particular moment in time.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think, I've been impressed with just the speed at which those type of programs have been announced and even just watching the changes really that we're all feeling every single day, but week over week you see that effect of that of those type of the uncertainty even on the government programs and the announcements around those. Like the details have changed a few times already, and I think there's been a healthy amount of criticism of them and excitement about them, and I think we have to all look at it. I don't think anyone's ever gone through this exact situation before, including the leaders on the government program and subsidy side. So I think we have to be a little bit patient, but also time is of the essence, especially for companies that are sort of reaching the end of their runway or don't really have options around fundraising and debt really on the table right now. So I think the more, it's great to see that they're working as fast as they can, but also working as carefully as they can. And hopefully the right companies and the companies that need those subsidies right now get them.
Well, maybe I'll leave you with this question, but how do you think the technology-driven sector across the province is faring amidst all this versus other sectors? Of course, restaurant, hospitality, I think we know off the bat that they're not doing quite all that well, but what about those technology-driven sectors?
Yeah, I mean, tech is so broad in reach now that I think it's even hard to group it just as tech. But if you're well set up to have your company transition to work from home, and you've got fairly consistent or maybe just somewhat lower cash flow coming in due to this crisis, you're probably in a great place and could almost be categorized as thriving. I think it's the companies that have kind of been slashed into almost life support just due to factors that are out of everyone's control. Anything in hospitality or travel, even if they're a tech company, is almost, it's so unfair right now, so I think the rest of us just have to sort of step up and obviously take the opportunities we can for our own business, but do our best to, I think, help in this situation and lend a helping hand to companies that are not faring as well, and really help everyone navigate all this stuff coming out on the government front as well. I think it's a lot of material to get through and figure out. So yeah, I think it's sort of all hands on deck.
I think that's good advice to leave off with. And Nadia, I want to thank you for joining us on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
That's Nadia Tatlow. She's CEO of Shift over in Victoria. That's it for today's show. We'll be back tomorrow. I want to thank everybody for joining us and tune in on BIV.com.